Hi guys, I'm Julie and this is my booktube channel. So today's episode is a couple of days late because I was in the middle of a move and I also got tagged by the beautiful at Dust Covers for Wanderlust to do a makeup tag and I really couldn't pass that up, so I just kind of switched my orders around. But today's episode I am going to be talking about the books that I read last month. So this is my review episode of the books for June. So I read a couple of different books last month. I feel like I had a pretty good selection of just different styles and genres. They were all YA, but some of them were advanced reader copies, and some of them were books that I had purchased on my own. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually order them in a ranking system that is very sophisticated and actually not at all sophisticated, but I'm going to just kind of rank them in the order of how I enjoyed them, starting with my least favorite and going to my favorite. There are 5 books that I read. You can find all of my GoodReads reviews for these books as well on my GoodReads page if you would like to check that out. I also have a Litsy account if you have Litsy, where I have gone ahead and gone over most of these books. Some of them did not show up on Litsy yet, so I have not been able to put them on there, but for the most part I have posted all of those there as well if you would like to check them out. So let's get started. Number 5 on my books read this month list is See What I Have Done by Sarah Schmidt. This book is basically a fictionalized account of the Lizzie Borden story. And I'm sure you're familiar with the Lizzie Borden story, right? Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her parents 40 whacks. Right? So, I mean, it sounds super exciting. Like, I read that, basically read that first part, and I was like, Lizzie Borden, fictionalization, count me in. Like, it has to be exciting, right? No. No. No, it does not. In fact, I was really kind of bummed out by this book. I felt like I went into it with a lot higher expectations, and I was I think expecting something completely different than what the author gave. It was really more of a psychological book, and it kind of got more into the characters' heads, and it was more a thinking, kind of analyzing sort of book. And I was just really kind of disappointed with it. I feel like as far as the writing goes, it was well written, so I will give Sarah Schmidt that. I think her writing is very well done, and she has a really good and very distinct writing style. So the writing itself was not the problem. I think that overall it was just kind of my expectations going into the book was not what happened. So I ultimately gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. Again, the writing was definitely a redeeming factor to the book because it was well written. I feel like the story, pacing, and everything itself was not my cup of tea. So that was my number 5 book out of the books that I read this month. Number 4 is Counting Wolves by Michael F. Stewart. This book was billed as The Breakfast Club meets Grimm's Fairy Tales, which I was super excited about because I enjoyed The Breakfast Club and I love fairy tales. So I went into it thinking that this was going to be kind of a really cool mashup of fantasy and contemporary. Going into it, the author did do a good job of merging the fantasy and the contemporary. What happens is the main character is a high school student who has to count to do basically anything, whether she wants to go through a door or if she's going to eat or if she's going to say anything. She has this anxiety issue where she feels that she has to count or the wolves will come and get her. And she got this idea from her mother, who was very, very sick, and she used to read her Grimm's fairy tales all the time, and with the way that the Grimm's fairy tales are very dark and twisty, it kind of really affected the main character's thought process, until eventually she's got this anxiety disorder that's so bad that she's getting to the point where she's losing weight, she's not eating, and her stepmother checks her into a psychiatric ward to get help. So the majority of the story takes place in the psychiatric ward, and you meet a bevy of other characters. There's a character who is a pig, like the Three Little Pigs. There's another character who's a personification of a wolf. There's a Little Red Riding Hood kind of nod. So the author did incorporate those fairy tales, and he did, mash it up. It wasn't my favorite book. I think with this book I was expecting something really, really different than what I got. I did see the references to the Grimm fairy tales. However, a lot of it kind of was just in those names again. And I've talked about that, and that's kind of one of my retelling even pet peeves. And so I know that this wasn't exactly a retelling. So I kind of gave him a little bit more leeway with it. Meh. I ended up giving it 4 stars on GoodReads because I did enjoy it and I did read it at a decent pace. It didn't seem to drag too often. It definitely wasn't my favorite story, but I could see how somebody else might enjoy it. So Chungking Wolves by Michael F. Stewart. Meh. Number 3 is a book that I actually purchased, and it is the book Matched by Allie, Condie. I have heard a lot of really good things about this book. It had been referred to me by a couple of different people, so I figured that when I was going to buy a book, this would be one that I would add to my collection. Going into it, I did know that it was going to be more of a romance book because right here on the top it says love triangle plus struggle against the powers that be equals the perfect escape. So it is totally, it's like a romance dystopian, and like that little blurb right there kind of says it all. It is in the middle of the road because I really actually did enjoy it. I thought it was a good book. I enjoy Allie Condie's writing. I think she's a very good writer. I think she tells a pretty good story. It was a little heavy on the romance for my taste. I don't mind love triangles. Obviously, if I did, I would not have bought the book because it says it right there. However, I was kind of hoping for more of the struggle against the powers that be part of the equation in the book, and it just seemed to me like the majority of this was more about which boy she's going to end up with. And I guess I probably should have figured that out because the name of the book is Matched, and that's kind of the whole concept is that Cassia, the main character, it starts off and she's going to her matching ceremony where she's going to find out who she's going to be matched to and who she's going to spend the rest of her life. And one picture of one boy comes up, but then later on, another picture of another boy shows up on her little screen, and so then she's torn because she has to decide which boy to choose. Again, it's really not a bad story. I really, really didn't mind it, and I really like the world that she built. I think that the world building in this book is really cool, and I really like the concept. I just feel like with this, if she would have focused more on that aspect versus who to choose between Team Xander or Team Kai, I think that would have made it that much better. So this book I did give 4 stars. I thought it was really good. I would actually, if somebody enjoys dystopian and romances at the same time, I would definitely recommend this, but I would make sure that they are a romance reader before I sent it. I think if it's a person who's more interested in like the action adventure portion, probably not the best fitting book for you. Fun fact, one reason that I do not like love triangles is because I always end up picking the losing boy. I don't know what it is. So I get invested in these characters and I start shipping these couples, and then the stupid girl always picks the wrong dang boy. So I get a little bitter. Love triangles. Number 2. This is another book that I actually have in my collection, and I've had this book actually for quite a while, and it's been on my GoodReads list for a while. If you look at the dates, I think it says that it's taken me 5 months to read this thing, because I actually did start reading it a while ago. And for whatever reason, I get about, I don't know, this far into the book, and I'd always stop. Something else would come up, or I would get busy or pulled away or start reading something else. And I don't really know why. This is actually the 4th book in the Gone series by Michael Grant. And I really actually enjoyed the Gone series. I think the world building is great. This is a YA dystopian also, probably a little bit of a sci-fi feel to it as well. Michael Grant, fun fact, is also the gentleman who wrote the Animorphs books, so if you liked Animorphs, totally check this out. But yeah, it's about this group of kids. They're all 15 or younger, and they're stuck in a place called the Phase. Basically what happened is one day all of the adults disappeared, and this giant bubble came over the world, or the area that they're living in, and so they're all trapped in. But on top of that, there's also all of these mutations, and some of the kids have powers, and some of them are even stronger than others. There are 2 bars who aren't very strong, and 4 bars who are very strong. And it's a good book, and it is told from different points of view, and quite a few different points of view. The writing in it is exceptional. I've really enjoyed the story, and when I started picking it up this time again to read it, I was really determined to finish it. So when I kind of got through that same part and that same slumpy area, I just pushed through, and I'm really glad I did, because as soon as I made it past that part, I just finished the rest like that. And I don't really know why. I was actually really kind of looking forward to this book too, because it's Plague, and I like Plague books, obviously. So, I guess part of it was because I was disappointed in that, and it just didn't catch my interest from the very beginning. But like I said, once I got in, it really picked up. It got really interesting, and there was just a lot of different new mutations that showed up, new characters that were introduced, and just all sorts of new plot thickenings. And I'm definitely this got me really excited to read the next book. I was at the bookstore the other day, and I almost bought another one, but I didn't, because we're in the middle of a move, and my husband might actually kill me if I bring home something new right now. So I will have to wait and sneak it in later. But yeah, so Plague, really good. I gave it 4 stars. The only reason I didn't give it 5 is because it took me so dang long to get into it. I think if I would have picked it up and gotten into it like the other books from the series, it would have been ranked higher. But solid 4, solid number 2 spot in my list. Definitely a good book if you enjoy dystopian, if you enjoy sci-fi, if you enjoy Michael Grant. Check it out. The last book, number 1, my favorite book that I read this month, is actually a YA contemporary, which is strange. That doesn't really usually happen to me. Contemporary is not a genre that I normally pick up off the shelves, because I don't know, I just like the fantasy, and I like the dystopian, and I love the escape. But it is a strange phenomena, because every contemporary book that I have picked up, even though it's not oh my gosh, it's a contemporary book, I have to buy it, when I do pick up contemporary books, I really usually do enjoy them. So, and this book in particular was no exception, and it is Zenn Diagram by Wendy Bryant. The book Zenn Diagram is about a girl named Eva who can't touch anyone, and it's not really that she's not allowed, it's a self-imposed rule, because anytime she does touch somebody, she gets these things that she calls fractals, and it's basically this kind of glimpse or vision into their life or their background by touch. And it's not so much she actually sees physical things that happen. It's more of a color or shape kind of feeling, and she calls them fractals because it has to do with a mathematical phenomenon. And she does that because she is also a math like savant. Like she's super smart, and she's like super relatable. I really enjoyed her character, but so she can't touch anybody, and she's lived her life this way because once they're like reach a certain age, people have stuff that go on in their lives, and she has seen more sad things and bad things in people, and she doesn't like that, and so she tries to stay away from touching people. And even like touching their things like can give her these fractals, and so part of that she uses her gift to help her with her math tutoring, because she can touch their calculators and see exactly what they struggle with in math, which I thought was really fun. But if she touches other things like personal things that touch the person very often, she'll get those same kind of fractals. And that happens when she meets Zenn, who is one of the boys that she is going to tutor, and she accidentally picks up his jacket and she's just slammed by his fractal. I don't want to go into it more because you really should read this book. It is really good. It's super cute. I absolutely loved Zenn. Like by the end of the book, he was actually like, I was low-key in love with him. And so it was just a really good book, and Wendy Bryant does a really nice job telling her story. She does a really good job with developing her characters. I absolutely like that. This would be a book that I would recommend to just about anybody. It's a fun read. It was a very quick read for me. Very lighthearted. There were definitely some serious moments to it, and there were some issues that were addressed, but for the most part, it was one of those feel-good books that by the time that you finished it, you were happy. So I gave this solid 5 stars on GoodReads. Definitely the best book that I read this month. I would recommend to all of you. Venn diagram. So that is it for my ranking for this month. Next month, I have another 5 coming up. I am excited to see where they take me, but I will let you know at the end of the month. But for now, tell me, what are you reading? What have you read recently that I absolutely have to add to my list? And what are you most excited about reading in the future? You can leave your comments below here after you like and subscribe, or you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at _JM_Sullivan, and we can connect in real time. It is about time for me to go. I have a lot of books to read and a couple of books to write. So until next time, and as always, happy reading.